Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, or if you haven't done that, feel free to hit the subscribe button down below. So in today's video, we're going to continue with our acrylic flowers, and I'm going to show you how to do a tulip. So this is a very simple design that can easily be done in a salon without taking up too much time, but I'll take you through step by step. And if you can hear the neighbor's dog in the background. But yeah, let's get on with the video. For this design, we're going to be using two different colors for the petals. So we're going to use a purple and pink just to sort of give it a bit of a changing colors, just to sort of make it a bit more interesting. Then I've also mixed up some green acrylic using pigment powder, and I've actually used white acrylic powder in this one just to sort of dull down the glitter in it. So I have used the same technique that I mentioned in last week's video, where I have just used pigment powder. So I've used the Nail Swag Industries pigment powder. Put a very small amount into the containers and then put some acrylic powder in there and given it a really good shake. So it's really important that you shake and you mix it up, or else you're going to get separation between the pigment powder and the acrylic powder. So with the acrylic, obviously I have my monomer, as you can see in there. And I have my 3D brush that I'm going to be using, the Kirsty Meakin one. And I have my tip, which I have already prepared. So for the tip, I've just put a sort of brown nude color from Jellyfit. So that's the number there. And I've just applied a matte top coat over the top, which is going to help the acrylic to stick to the tip as well. So again, if you're doing this on a client's nails and you have a gel polish and this is then going over the top, I recommend that you put a matte top coat over the top. The other option is to actually file it down to rough it up, but you risk pulling off the gel color that you've just put down. And we'll get started. To start off the tulip, we need to create a base petal that's going to sit flat against the tip. So this is going to be using the same technique that I used in last week's video. So if you haven't watched that video, I'll link it down below in the description box. Just go ahead and probably watch that one first, because I go through how to pick up a bead of acrylic powder and also how to shape a petal on a flat flower as well, which is the same technique we're going to use for this part. So go ahead and watch that one first and then come back to this one. So for the flat flower, I'm going to go into my monomer, clean off my brush a bit. So it's always really important to make sure that before you put your brush away that it's really clean and free of any acrylic in there, because it's really painful to try and get dried acrylic out of a brush. Alright, so for the base petal, I'm going to do just a plain purple one. So picking up my bead of purple and placing it down. So we're going to put the flower at an angle, like so, wiping off my brush. And we're going to go in and flatten it down and shaping it into the shape that we want. So we want a pointed end at one side. Just cleaning up as you go. And we want a rounded top on the other side. So this is a design that's going to stand up off the tip. So it wouldn't work if you have any clients that struggle with raised embellishments. Just cleaning off some of the purple. It's a problem with using a dark color. So Just flattening it down a bit more. And bringing in that end, like so. And we're just going to give it a few seconds, just sort of harden up a bit. So then what we want to do is we want to create a sort of like a center oval shape. And what that's going to do is it's going to help the petals to look like they are falling over. And it's also going to give the tulip more of a 3D effect that you can actually see down the flower as well. So what you want to do for that is, I'm going to go in with the pink for that, picking up a sort of relatively dry bead because you don't want it mixing with your purple. So it's a relatively dry bead, and placing it in the middle of that petal that you just created, cleaning off your brush and shaping it into sort of like a pointed oval. So following a similar shape to this petal here, except we want it to stand up to sort of help to create that rounded shape of the flower overall. So let's spread it out a bit, not going all the way to the top of the petal because you still want it sort of peeking out from the flower, but not completely out, like so. Now we're going to create our next petal that's actually going to go completely over this one. So for this, you do still want a relatively dry petal because you don't want it to be all liquid and then it falls in. The drier it is, it'll be easier to manipulate it into a petal shape, if that makes sense. So dry beads doesn't work for everything. It's something you have to assess every time you do acrylic art, to sort of how dry you want the bead to be. So for this petal, I'm going to go into the pink and then into the purple, just to sort of create a bit of a combo color, and placing it on top. And again, just leave it to establish and sort itself out. And we want to flatten it over that pink part that we just created. Making sure that it meets in the bottom over here and stretching it up. Now, as you can see, my bead was too small. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to get another bead, pink, and then purple, and just placing it on top like so. And it's all right, we're going to blend it down into the previous one. So blending it down into the previous bead that we shaped out. Then we're going to stretch it up to make the petal. So as you can see, let's see if you can see it down there. So as you can see, the little pink thing, middle that we created, is poking out. Alright, so there's our next petal. And again, this time we're going to go purple first, then into the pink. So we're going to create the side petals now. So placing your bead on the side, cleaning off our brush. Now it's really important with these petals that we tuck it under and butt it right up against those other two that we created, and bringing it down to meet the bottom and then dragging it up to the top. So I just cleaned off my brush and monomer. And there you go. So you can see that it overlaps the first petal, and it's really important that we get that distinction so you can see that it's separate petals. And then we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing on the other side.
My exes and me, we don't talk anymore. If we did, I think it would get pretty ugly. They made me believe love's an open door in the beginning, then they shut it pretty quickly. I thought we were good, at times even great, but apparently I was just one big mistake. My exes and me, we don't talk anymore. If we did, I think it would get pretty ugly. I'm just a victim and not the evil villain, so I'm sorry, not sorry that everyone that crosses my way is gonna feel the same pain that I felt.
So there is our tulip. So I'm then going to create a little bud of a tulip just over here, just sort of create like a nice full artwork across the whole nail. So gonna go into the purple first. So you just need a smaller bead for this. Then into the pink and placing it down. So I placed my bead very differently because I want that pink to stand out a bit more on this one. So we're just going to start shaping it into our bud, flower bud. So for the flower bud, you are looking for a more of an oval shape, and you don't want to flatten it out too much because you want it to be raised like a flower bud. And there you go. The next step that we're going to do is create the stem and some leaves around it. So I'm using that green acrylic that I created. So for this, you want a fairly wet bead. It gives you more time to manipulate it into the stem, but it also means that it's a little flatter. So dipping my brush into the monomer, picking up a small bead. So we just start small and we build on top of it, placing it at the the bottom of the flower. What you want to do is, while it's wet, is sort of drag through it to create a stem. Now, if you want, you can use gel polish and hand paint this part. It's completely up to you. So I'm just using the side of my brush and the tip to shape it into a thin stem. Then we're going to go pick up the next bead. Again, small bead, very a very wet bead, placing it over here, the bottom of where we stopped with the previous one, and dragging it into the shape we want. And I'm just going to grab some more and fix up this area here, the connection, just to sort of make it look smoother. So remember, when it comes to creating acrylic artwork, it's always better to add more beads to fix up something, or to, like I had with the first petal, I didn't have a big enough bead, so I just had to pick up another one. So it's always better to add an extra bead than to realize while you're manipulating it that it's too much, and then you have to take some away, and it might change the shape, or it might give you less time for you to manipulate it as well. And when it comes to acrylic, you know, seconds matter. So just, yeah, be very careful. Just want to make this part thicker. There you go, there's our stem. So the next part I'm going to do is create a stem for the little... that we want to do is, if you have a look at flowers, they have sort of a base part that's connecting the stem to the flower. So we're going to create that. Again, picking up sort of medium-sized bead, larger than what we did with the stem, but not too big. Again, it's better to add to the bead if you need to. So I'm just going to manipulate it up the petals.
I don't really care if I hurt your feelings. I can make you fall in love, but I won't get you, 'cause no one was there during breakup season. All I needed was a couple of I love you. I'm just a victim and not the evil feeling, so
Then we're going to do the same thing on the little bud, so just creating the little green base. So picking up a small bead for this one, placing it at the base of the bud, cleaning off our brush, and then shaping it up. We're going to then create the leaves. So I'm going to do something a little different. So I've got my green acrylic, but I'm actually going to put some green glitter in there, just to sort of add a little a little something to the leaves. So what I'm going to do is put my brush in the monomer. Now you don't want, you want about a medium wet bead. Put it into the green acrylic, then straight into the glitter, and place the beads. I'm going to do a leaf up here. Problem with glitter is that it doesn't stick all the time, so you sort of have to hold it there for a bit. Then we want to shape it into our leaf shape, making sure it's connecting with that tulip. Patting it out, just bringing in the top. Then what you want to do is grabbing your brush. You want to use the side of your brush to sort of create that middle part of the leaf. So all I'm doing is just patting down and dragging up to create that middle part. Patting down the sides, bringing in the top. There you go, there's our first leaf. Just cleaning off the excess glitter that's come off. And there's one leaf. So I'm going to do a small leaf over here. I'm not going to use glitter this time. So just creating same thing, just without glitter. Placing our bead, flattening it out to create our leaf. Then using the side of our brush to create that middle vein, I suppose it's called, and flattening it out. Just get rid of this excess piece here, like so. Then we're going to create another leaf over here. This time I'm going to use glitter as well, so I want it to be a larger leaf, so pick up a larger bead.
It's dark and cool and mean when you're with me, you and me, you and me. I'ma show you right, yeah, I'ma show you bright when you're with me, you and me, you and me. Oh, I'll never be my exes made me this way. Oh, oh, 'cause love ain't what it seems. It's dark and cool and mean when you're with me, you and me, you and me. I thought we were good, at times even great, but apparently I was just one big mistake. My exes and me, we don't talk anymore. No, love ain't what it seems. It's dark and cool and mean when you're with me, you and me, you and me. I'ma show you right, yeah, I'ma show you right when you're with me, you and me, you and me. Oh, I'll never be plain. My exes made me this way.
So you just place the the leaves wherever you want them to be. So if you want, you can fill up the whole rest of the tip with leaves. You can just leave it at sort of that one and that one. It's completely up to you how many leaves you do.
Oh, 'cause love ain't what it seems. It's dark and cool and mean when you're with me, you and me, you and me. Blue dude, blue moon, kinda mysterious, shaded with someone I'm not really into. Do you need to fix it? Talk talking bullshit. It's hard to see you when your eyes look dull. Who's gonna save you?
So for this step, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I'm always looking for ways that I can add a little extra to designs. So what I want to do is I want to highlight some of these petals to sort of make them stand out a little more and sort of differentiate between the petals, because you can see they're quite different colors. They're quite similar colors. So to do this, I'm going to be using my Brilebird Designer Gel. So what's really good with this designer gel, it's very dirty, is the fact that it doesn't have a tacky layer when it dries. So it's really good to go on top of artwork. And also it's really, really thick as well. So because acrylic, if you put normal gel polish over the top of acrylic is really, really porous and really, really thirsty, and it holds onto the gel, and you don't get that nice smooth line that you can get. But with this designer gel, because it's so thick, you get a really nice line with that. So I'm going to be using my InStyle 7mm brush, if you can see that. Yep. So it's very thin, like that. And grabbing our gel paint, you can get it open. So as you can see here, I'll show you it. It's really, really thick. It doesn't move at all. It's very similar, you know, if you're making, is it pavlova or something, you tip the bowl upside down. Yeah, you can do that and nothing will come out. So, alright, so I'll use that. So grabbing some of that and my tip. Just making sure I don't have too much on the brush. And I'm going to go in, and you want to do short movements. You don't want long sweeping motions.
Who's gonna make you not blue? Not blue. Blue too. Bad mood. Sort of witty and jaded, but let's not talk about your coyote song on a rerun. Are you hound dog tired singing all night long? Who's gonna save you? Who's gonna make you not blue?
There is our completed design. Very happy with that. Let me know what you think down in the comments. So next week we're going to go back to our gel polish, but let me know if there's anything else you want me to show you with acrylic nail art. Otherwise, you can catch me over on my socials, which is also linked down below in the description box. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.